Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Guise and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle @EdTech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show.
Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. This is episode 216 called More Awesome EdTech for the Summer. Every year when school ends, we publish an episode where Guise and I share what we'll be reading, listening to, and exploring over summer break. 216 is that episode, and this is another you don't want to miss. Check it out.
Alright, we're back with episode 216. This is one of my favorite episodes because it means it's almost time to recharge because it's almost summertime.
Summertime.
What are you doing this?
That's a great question. I don't really know what I'm doing this summer. We have no plans beyond my wife's normal concert lineup, which I'm sure we've made fun of before, because she likes one genre of music, and that is the Dave Matthews Band. If you're younger than like 30 years old, you probably have no idea even who that is, and that's cool. But that's it. We're just chilling. I know I got to do swim lessons with my daughter. I got to do a couple other child-related things, but that's it for me so far. What about you?
Well, if you know anything about the Guise household, summertime is baseball time.
Baseball time.
All three of them are in travel baseball for the first time. And it is just total chaos. So we will be doing baseball, we'll be doing swim lessons, we will be doing reading lessons, just to, keep them on track. They're young, and we want them to have a strong foundation in reading. So we'll have that going.
Reading lessons like with somebody? What
Yeah.
do you guys do reading?
No, I mean, we do our own reading with them, like at night before bedtime and everything. But as far as the foundation's going into first grade, so he's just learning how to read, and the other one's going into third grade, and the other one's going into fifth grade. The fifth grader has been able to read since he was like 4. The other two, with COVID and stuff like that, we just feel like they didn't get some of the basics the oldest one got.
That's
so
cool.
We like to just keep it going. So summertime, the transition back into the fall is a lot easier, and the youngest one is very interested and reads the site, so we want to get him going. And the middle one, he is, figuring out. He's doing a great job. He's coming along. So very excited about all that. This will be the first summer that they're also all three in the same camp for part of the day.
That's cool.
So in years past, they were in 3 different camps, 3 different pickups, 3 different drop-offs, 3 different locations. And I felt like my summer was kicking them out of the car and picking them up in a chaotic fashion. So
yeah,
I'm pretty excited that they're all able to do like a camp, and they're excited about it. They actually wanted to do it. I told them that they had the choice of hanging out with me or going to camp, and they're like, no offense, we're going to camp. And I was like, no offense taken, yay.
I'm happy about that.
I'm able to get some house projects done. So that's where we're at. Let's stop talking about house projects and all that, and let's get right into our second segment right after Words from the Teacher podcast.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, so we're back, and as Guy said at the beginning, this is one of his favorite episodes. It's also one of mine because it's the start of the summer season. It's the start of us recording a cache of banked episodes so that we can sort of take a little tech break over the summer. We always talk about that. We'll probably mention it in this episode today because we spend a lot of time using tech, teaching with tech, learning about tech, recording videos on tech, recording a podcast on tech. And, we love it, obviously, but it feels really good to put that away for a few weeks at least. So we always try and record like a little collection of episodes that we can just post periodically. So we can give you, the listeners, like the 2-week thing if you want it. We get to sort of kick back for that. So this is the first one of that collected bank for us. Now, we go super late in New Jersey. June 19th is our last day, so we're a couple weeks ahead of that, but we know a lot of the teachers out there are ending either this coming week, this posts on June 2nd, I believe. So some of you guys are finishing up this week, some the week after, probably most the week after. But everybody's going to be looking for stuff to do, right? If you're not on vacation, and maybe even if you are, what should I be listening to? What should I be reading? What stuff should I be exploring? We're going to share in this episode what our selected items are going to be. Not that there's anything extra special about our choices, but hearing that might help you all pick some of your stuff. So typically we each share two pods, 2 books, and then 2 grab bag items, and I think we're going to follow the same format here. Maybe, I don't know, how do you want to do it? Should I do one podcast, or should I do both of my podcasts?
Do both of yours, and then I'll do both of mine, and we'll just keep going down.
All right, so here's the 2 pods that I want to check out. The first one is called Sweat the Technique. This is going to go along with my general theme of stuff that I've chosen. Usually we have some kind of a theme, too, that we're going to be checking out. Sweat the Technique has, I think, 4 hosts. They are all principals or former principals, and the theme is getting better, faster, stronger when it comes to educators. Weirdly, not typically even using technology, but focusing instead. And this is what's going to be my overall theme for my selections for this particular summer. Focusing on good teaching practice, focusing on evidence-based practices in the classroom. A lot of the times very simple things, but doing them consistently, doing them better, and doing them in a way that actually is backed by science as far as ways that help students learn. So, something that we all know called an exit ticket, right? We all know about exit tickets, but there's a best way to do exit tickets, and there's refocusing on doing them regularly. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to focus in on for next school year. And that's the kind of stuff I want to be learning about over the summertime. So this podcast is all about that for me in particular. Our friend Dave Snyder has recommended one particular episode, and I've linked this in the show notes. It's called Lessons on Excellent Teaching with Pritesh, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Raichura, Pritesh is the first name there. Raichura is the last name. And that's the one that I'm going to start with just because I've heard that it's a really fantastic episode. So that's my first podcast. And then the next one is from NPR. NPR, if you don't know, makes some of the best podcasts around, some of the most listened to podcasts around. And they've got one called Schooled. And this is all about answering the question, is this happening to anyone else? Because that's my favorite thing right now in education, is just kind of checking in with other teachers and saying, hey man, have you noticed this? Are you seeing the same thing? Sometimes this comes out as complaining. We always try to spin it to something positive if we can, but it just feels good, right? It's cathartic to kind of have that interaction with other teachers, because pretty much always when you start with, have you noticed students getting better at this? Have you noticed kids getting worse at this? You're always going to get feedback from people that say, oh my God, so have I. And this podcast is all about that. So it's sort of like a, boots on the ground thing. It is geared towards Pennsylvania's public school system and why they spend more money per student than any other state, but don't get the results out of that. Appealed to me because I live in Pennsylvania and we teach in New Jersey, but very close to PA, so it's going to feel close to home for us. But supposedly there's just a lot of good lessons for all educators in there. So those are my 2, Sweat the Technique and School.
Those 2 sound awesome, especially the first one. I'm definitely going to listen to that episode. If Dave recommended it, I'm going to check that one out. Let's get into my 2. The first one, it comes with a funny story. So my wife knows that I like to listen to podcasts. She does the book on tape type thing. I do the podcast type thing. And we share stuff back. Well, somewhere along her internet scrolling journey, I guess she saw a podcast called Catching the Codfather. All right. And she knows that I love to fish, and I love everything about fishing and being out on the water. I don't like sand, but I love it. So I'm not a beach guy, but I like being down at the... And she shared this with me. So, of course, I went and I grabbed it real quick off my podcatcher, and I went to the Big Dig because that's the name, and then it's like semicolon catching the Codfather, and I was like, oh, there's more than one season. So I went to the first season, and I started listening to the first season, and it was actually about infrastructure in the 70s in Boston, like making, the interstate highway.
That's not what I expected to hear.
No, me neither. And I was like, why the heck did she think I was going to like this? And what the heck does this have anything to do with fishing? All right, so I listened to a couple episodes. You know what? I kind of do dig this, but I still don't understand the fishing thing. All right, so I go home after I listened to the first couple episodes. I went on the internet, and basically each season, the Big Dig is the guy, the host, Ian Koss is the host's name. The Big Dig is digging into it, like informational, it's gathering. And the first one was all about infrastructure. The second season was all about scratch-off lottery tickets and the origins of scratch-off lottery tickets and how it originated, basically mafia ties. And then the third one is Catching the Codfather, about this fisherman that was scamming, how people actually liked the guy. But I haven't gotten into that one yet, so that's the one that my wife actually recommended to me. I love the first two seasons, so I'm going to get into the Big Dig, Catching the Codfather. So that's the first one. That's just like a pleasure listen. The next one, which is more connected to not only school, but also my middle kid, is probably undiagnosed ADHD. We're in the middle of, trying to figure. It's a great kid. Love the kid to death. Definitely an out-of-the-box thinker. Reminds me of
Sure.
in so many ways. But this podcast is called Attitudes, ADHD Experts Podcast. And there's a particular episode which I want to listen to. It's called What Neuroscience Reveals About the ADHD Brain. And that's with Dr. Joel Neig. And this one is an episode that was recommended to me. Basically, he breaks down complex neuroimaging and brain chemistry into layman's terms. Keyword phrase, I guess, layman's terms. And he explains why the ADHD brain, or how the ADHD brain processes dopamine, handles attention, experience, and heightened fits, my son to a T. Reminds me of my younger self. And then there's also another one that's a bonus episode in the series called Neurofeedback and Cognitive Training for AD. So I want to kind of look at both of those too, see if I could get any tips or tricks to help understand myself, help understand, maybe some of the kids I coach, some of the kids, and see how I can bring.
I was going to say that exact thing. Like, I wonder if, as you listen to that, like, yeah, you'll be learning about your son, but are you going to probably have moments where you're like, oh, that's how my brain works too. It might be kind of cool to hear that stuff.
Well, I know that's where I've calmed down over the years, but I know that my son and I are cut from the same cloth.
Sure.
So we'll definitely learn something.
All right.
Hopefully I learn ways to connect him.
For sure. And I'm just like, from the teacher standpoint, it's always great to learn about that kind of stuff, because how many of your students are, living with, similar brains, and just the more stuff you hear about that, I think it makes all of us better educators too. So that's super cool. And I think that's it for our podcast. Let's move into books. So the next one, we've got two of these, although I'm going to do a quick third bonus one real quick at the end. The first here, and the main one that I'm going to be looking at, is called Teach Like a Champion by Doug Lamov. This is another Dave Snyder pick. And I think it was like the main one that he recommended when he was on our show a few weeks back. And it's all about cognitive science. It's all about the craft of teaching. It's all about positive and productive classroom approaches and methods, ways to build student engagement, ways to build trust, ways to build respect, accountability, excellence, all the things you want. The focus really is on techniques. And like I said, with my podcast choices, that's what I want to be thinking about next school year, and that's what I want to be reading about, is what are the classic teaching techniques that I know about in the back of my mind, but that sometimes I forget, and replace maybe with a tech tool or just getting the information out there so I can move on I want to really dig in on that stuff. And it seems like this has lots of excellent stuff specifically focused on memory and learning, because really that's what teaching is all about. If you think about it, right, we're trying to present information to kids, but you're not just presenting it, it's got to be in a way that helps them learn, and they don't always know the best way to learn. So that's what this is going to help with. I'm very excited to read that book. Another one that I think is similar is called 7 Myths About Education by Daisy Christodoulou. I'm not sure how to say the last name there. Christodoulou. Either way, Daisy, I apologize for the pronunciation there, but this sounds really cool. Daisy is an experienced teacher in challenging schools, which is not an experience that I have. We do not teach in a challenging school. So I'm curious on that aspect of it. But Daisy is going to challenge specifically, she's going to challenge 7 widely held beliefs that she contends are holding back students and their teachers. Facts like that prevent understanding for kids. Things like teacher-led instruction is passive. Things like the 21st century fundamentally changes what teaching should be. That's what we heard for a long time, right? 21st century skills is going to change education. Kids can look everything up, so that changes the way we have to teach. Transferring skills. We have to teach transferable skills. Projects and activities are the best way to learn. If you're hearing these things and thinking like, yeah, for sure, that's what I've been hearing from admin and in my college prep courses, Daisy's going to basically challenge all of that, which is, again, a theme from our conversation with Dave Snyder. And this book is all about it. If you want to hear my opinions on those, you can go back and listen to that Dave Snyder episode where we get into a lot of this stuff. But, chances are pretty good. I'm going to disagree with some of these, but I think that's the point. This is meant to be a controversial take on those things. And I can't wait about it. I love any book or podcast that takes something we think we all know and flips it, or at least makes you think about it in a different way. So that's why I'm looking at that one for my second one.
Those two are very cool, but I'm just looking ahead in the show notes. And the next one, I'm getting very anxious just reading it.
I'm anxious thinking about it.
And I'm not anxious as in I can't wait to go read it. Huh?
Yeah, so this is my bonus. It has nothing to do really with education, although it is educational. I'm just sharing mostly because I wanted to see your reaction to it. The background is this. There's another podcast, one of my favorites, called 99% Invisible. It's all about design, but not in an art sense necessarily, just like design of the world around you. So, anything that's government infrastructure, buildings, why are things designed the way that they're designed? This is the guy that did the flag design video that we played in class. This is that guy and his podcast. Anyway, he did a series as part of his podcast, 99% Invisible, where he had a guest and they took this book from the 1970s, I believe. Yeah, 1970s, and the book is called The Power Broker. And they broke it down, so each episode of the podcast was one chapter. And the book is about this person called Robert Moses, who was alive in like the early 1900s and was I think a parks commissioner in New York City, which doesn't sound like it would hold a lot of power. But this guy was such a savvy politician and a bureaucrat that he amassed like this crazy amount of power and shaped New York City for honestly the way it is today, in good and some really bad ways too. I would never seek this kind of book out. I have no interest in civics or government at all. No offense, social studies teachers, but I do not care mostly. But this podcast was so good. I found it so fascinating that I was like, I want to read this. I want to read this book for real myself. The challenge is this. It's gigantic, and I bought it. This thing's sitting in my living room right now. It's like the biggest book I've ever seen. It's 1,344 pages, which didn't mean anything to me. It might not to you too, but the audiobook is 66 hours long. And for comparison, the average audiobook is 12. And I'm going to read this thing.
So basically, Nick Johnson killed 3 pine trees in order to read a book that is over 1,300 pages.
Yeah.
Good luck to you. Let me know how it goes, and that's not for me.
Yeah. It might not be for me either. I don't even. It's just supposed to be. I mean, it's one of the best books ever written. It's got like literally every literary award you can get. But man, it's just not a topic I would ever choose, and it's so long. But it's become like a Mount Everest of reading for me. So I think I'm going to do it just out of principle.
There's a 5-letter word that I think I'm going to take a guess of what that 5-letter word is that I think of when I see this description.
Is it some kind of expletive? I don't know. What's the 5-letter word?
Fluff.
Fluff?
That's what I think of, and the other word that I was going to go with is torturous.
Yeah, probably.
But if there are little mini stories within there, okay, sure.
It's not.
Then yeah, count me out.
It's
Count me out, and yeah, I'm just going to say that. No, well, I don't care if anyone, but that everyone has their little thing when they read and everything.
Yeah.
But that would be a struggle for me on multiple. Like, I'm the type of guy that reads, and when I get to the last like paragraph of a chapter, I get anxious, and it takes me so long to read that.
yeah, same actually.
Same thing at the end of a book. At the end of the book, the last chapter, as soon as I know that there's only a couple pages, it's like, oh my God, this is the last page. I made it. I made it. And then I can't concentrate on the book. So this, I mean, I guess I wouldn't have that feeling of finishing the book in a long time.
Right. Yeah,
but
for sure.
I could never do that.
I'll report back and we'll see how it goes.
All right, sounds good. I'll ask you for the Cliff Notes version.
All right.
And even that's probably gonna be really long.
Yeah.
All right, so I have 2 books. The first one is, as I mentioned before, I'm loving the AI, like creation aspect of AI and being able to be creative. And I know people say that you can't be creative while using AI. I can, and it works for me. So I want to keep going with that. So my first book is The AI-Driven Leader, Harnessing AI to Make Faster, Smarter Decisions. I have an interest in trying to make assistants for different tasks of my life, but have them be able to intercommunicate and work together to give me what I need. For example, I want to make a bot that I can import my schedule, or I can connect it to my Google schedule. If you would see that, the sports schedule for 3 kids is nuts.
Right.
All right. But I want to make another assistant that will go into that schedule and be like, okay, these are the people that I have available to help at these hours, create the master schedule of who has the responsibility. What I mean by that is my wife works Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. All right, long hours. I have to keep her out of the schedule. I work until 4 o'clock. Got to keep me out of the schedule until 4 o'clock. And we get a lot of help from my mother-in-law as well. And I put her work schedule in there. I want this assistant to be able to look at my calendar, look at all the practices, and then give me a detailed report saying who's responsible for each kid, taking them to this field, bringing them back at this time, something along those lines. But I also want an assistant to be able to meal plan. Like when they get off the bus at 4:15 and we have a game at 5:45, what meal can I make in 30 minutes to be able to get them to eat and get out the door and make it? I want that assistant in there. And basically each week I want to be like, all right, look at the schedule, make me a report, blah, 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 of everything I need. I don't want to be creative during these times. I want answers. And if that could be prep for me, then that gives me more time to do other things that I need to squeeze into there.
And you can have it say, and plan what the meals can be for those nights based on the amount of time I have, and generate the grocery list.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
So you can keep adding assistants
Right.
and getting this report, and it's done for you. And that keeps the stuff that I don't really want to spend my time and energy thinking about it.
Yep.
I could also put a list in there or a description or make a gem out of it and say, hey, my oldest son likes this, my middle son likes this, youngest son likes this. Come up with something that I could kind of cook at the same time that's going to fit the needs for each kid. They'd love it. You know, I have one kid that will not eat anything but yogurt, chicken nuggets, and mac and I have one kid that will eat, if you throw a cardboard plate in front of him and you tell him it's a big chip, he'll try to eat it.
Right.
And then I have another one that's kind of, I think this book is going to allow me to not treat AI like a faster assistant, but get them to like be a strategic partner in planning and getting multiple things working together. So I think that's pretty cool. But that's how I want to set my goals for next year on how I use AI. I want to use AI in order to get more time back so I could spend that with my kids or perfecting, you know, some type of teaching strategy or my craft at work, enjoy time with friends, things like that. The second book I have is called AI in the Writing Workshop, Finding the Right Balance. And basically what this is all about is, so we have a lot of English teachers that treat AI like it's an enemy or it's an easy way to cheat. And this book acts as a practical guide to help ELA in writing, explores the basic way of using AI into the drafting, brainstorming, editing processes while keeping human creativity at the center. So if I could get a couple strategies that I could pass on teachers that think that AI is causing an easy way to cheat, I think that would be good at teaching.
Love it. And I like the AI theme there. Some good notes about how to use it appropriately and in a positive way. Awesome choices. Let's get into the last little segment, which is our grab bag. This can be really anything that we want to share. And I've got two of these. The first one is referencing my overall theme again, which is just a return to focusing on good teaching practice. I found this really cool one-pager, and I linked it in the show notes. It's called 5 Effective Study Strategies, Research-Based Approaches for Smarter, More Efficient Learning. And it focuses on a lot of the stuff that my books and my podcasts were talking about, but specific to study strategies, things like, you know, retrieval practice and what that means, how to distribute your study, something called interleaving, which is mixing up problem types, dual coding, which is combining words and visuals together in a specific way, elaboration, that's making yourself explain the how and the why. If you're thinking this sounds great, but more like a student focus, I would agree with that, but I'm going to try to incorporate all of these things into what I ask students to do, almost in such a way that like I'm sort of making them do those things just as they work on the study guide that I already assigned, but like maybe I can assign it in a different way. Maybe I can craft the questions in a different way so that there is better learning happening in my classroom, almost unbeknownst to the students. Because I think like, you know, as a teacher, I'm a really good explainer, but I could be better at helping kids remember stuff. So that's what it's going to be all about for me next year. And I'm going to focus on this one pager as like a very concrete list of things to pay attention to. So I'm super excited about that. And then my second one, I was hesitant to even share this. I may have mentioned it already in a recent episode, but it's turning out to be so good that I added it to my grab bag list here. There's a new, actually I know I mentioned this in a recent, I'm going to get into some detail here. This is for the STEM teachers out there. FET.colorado.edu is the simulation platform that we all know and love. They have a new thing called FET Studio where you can basically create different points in the simulation and share those out specifically with the students. FET's thinking is to cut down on the problem of a lot of students start one of these simulations and they're so haphazard in their thinking that they just like start clicking and playing and not really paying attention to what's what, and they might miss that there's a little button over here that reads the absorbance of the solution, and they get lost in all the options. So to help with that, you can sort of like preset, and that's what they're actually called. You can go in there, you can preset a point in the simulation so that when students click a link, they don't just open the simulation, they go to that exact moment in the simulation that you want them to test. It's going to make it easier for the kids, which is, you know, sometimes good and sometimes not good, but it is going to guarantee that they will see the exact thing you want them to see as they answer that particular question. And then the really cool part, and what sold me on it, is that it integrates now with Wayground. So if a student is going through, say, a Wayground lesson, in one of the slides of the lesson, they'll see your preset simulation on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, all in the same screen, they'll see your questions about it that they can answer in Wayground and either get the immediate feedback it provides if you're doing it asynchronously, or if you're doing it real time in class, then the teacher sees all of their answers live. So you can basically get their attention and say, okay, hey, everybody, we're going to look at slide 3 because everyone did a good job with the first 2 questions, but the last one seemed to give you all a hard time. Let's share out some of our ideas. It's just, as I've been working with Wayground to help create some resources around this, and it's just really great. The downside is you got to pay for FET Studio, but I think I've found it so helpful that it might be one that's worth it for teachers to pursue, at least if you're a mather. Check it out if you teach those subjects. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, go get your PTOs, talk to them, talk to any education foundations in your area and help out with that subscription to FET. So I have 2 as well, and one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because I talk about it all the time. I even talked about it in this episode, and that's creating Gemini collections. I'm going to make a website that will allow me to share out my gems and things like that. And I know that, and I mentioned this before, Eric Kurtz has his Edu Gems. Mine's going to be the same thing, but I'm going to tailor it to my teaching practice specifically and make that public out there. And some of the gems that I want to create are the gamification gems, so they'll be a little different. And who knows, maybe I'll send them over and they can be included over in the Edu website as well. I like sharing things, so that's where it's going to be. My second thing that I'm going to get into is using AI to create these gamified experiences. So it kind of ties into the gems that I just talked about, but really I just want to live in that area this summer. I think there's a lot of ways to explore and expand my craft. I love making escape the rooms. So I'm going to do more of those. I've made 8 escape the rooms in the last 3 weeks. From start to finish, it takes me about 2.5 hours to do, maybe another hour to prep it if I have to put invisible ink or anything like that on it. But I'm getting to the point where I can make different types of puzzles because my brain is just in that right mindset. And I'm able to work with different content in a way that I can push these things out, and the kids seem to really enjoy them. So that's one that I'm going to do. I'm getting a lot of requests for murder mystery, more murder mystery parties and things like that. I did one last year with a former guest, Dana Heller, and a colleague of ours on the gunshot heard around the world with Archduke Ferdinand. And that one worked out really, really well, that I decided that I was a couple of others. We did a Spanish one, we did a history class one, another history class one as well. But I'm going to branch out there. There's a murder mystery unit in our ELA. Maybe I can make one for that. And I also want to do another one that is focused around YouTube series called Whodunit. And that's WHODUNNIT. If you go to YouTube, you can see it. But basically, that is like Clue mixed with like a reality TV show.
Cool.
So basically, there's 20 people in this castle. They're all competing for prize money. They all go there. There's one actor within the group, actually 2 actors within the group. The person who gets murdered first, and they're the person who is the murderer, basically. They're actors, or they know their parts ahead of time. And a murder happens. Everyone then goes and gets to kind of see the murder from afar, like the murder scene from afar. From there, you get to decide whether or not you want to go to the morgue, the person's last known whereabouts, or you want to further investigate. Once you go to that space, you get different information that no one else will get in any of the other spots. And when you come back to a dinner or cocktail party or something like that, basically what happens is they get to decide whether they're going to tell other people the truth and work with them, be vague and kind of work with them, but kind of not give them the full story, or just lie to them. All right.
Make stuff up, you mean?
Make stuff up.
Yeah.
You could choose what you want to do, and then you go into it's like a little confessional room, and it's basically a videotape of them laying out exactly what they think happened. All right. The top 3 people that were the closest to how it happened and what happened, they're safe that week. The bottom 3 people, like the top one gets on a...
Sure.
The bottom 3 people, they're on the chopping block, and whichever one was the furthest away gets murdered the next show, the next episode, until it's down to the final. Basically, they have a certain amount of time to figure out who the murderer is and why they think that at the final. So I would actually have to shorten it down into one period. They go in, they have like a little cookie party or something like that. They talk to one another. They're role-playing, obviously, what their character is. Then something happens, and they get to choose the 3 areas, obvious center. And then they go back, and their homework might be that they have to either write their confessional or they have to videotape their confession. Then we watch them all, and then the teacher picks who was the closest to the action.
That's exciting. It sounds awesome. And like the next challenge for you for all these different games that you create. So I can't wait to see how that one comes out. Let's close it with this. I got a gems challenge for you, and everybody else can listen in here to see if, I don't know, maybe it'll spur an idea in the listeners as well. But I don't know, have you ever downloaded your teacher's schedule from OnCourse, which is our LMS? It's very messy. You would agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I tried to make a gem where I downloaded teacher's schedule from OnCourse, educate the gem on what it looks like, what's in it, what each thing means, how the rotating block schedule works. And then the purpose of the gem is so the teacher would use the gem to upload their OnCourse schedule, but the gem spits out a color-coded, like a really neat version of it. That's like tidy, and you can see based on color how the rotation works for an A day, B day, C day, D day. I've gotten so close to where the output on the end is like pretty good, but I haven't gotten it good enough where I could like share it with people. And I don't know what else to do with my prompting. I leave this with you.
All right, well, I'll have to see what you did, but
all right.
You should probably ask the AI what it's missing.
I know. I need to do that. You're right. I did one time, but it was kind of like just it did that thing where it's like, oh yeah, I see that I have missed this detail, and then I did it again and it missed the same detail. So something's not linking up. I'll let guys try to figure that one out. Maybe we can work on it together. But regardless, that wraps it up for episode 216, our summertime episode. More important than anything, we hope all of our listeners have an excellent and relaxing summer break. Keep tuning in every 2 weeks because we will keep posting episodes throughout. As always, thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the EdTech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors. Subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the EdTech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is EdTech Throwdown. You can connect with Guise at GuiseGotTech, Nick at NickGotTech. You can write us an Apple Podcast review. You could tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.